very serious musical periods where I thought Paige and I perhaps were offering something very special, and maybe we were, you know.
The only thing we haven't done is we haven't written any material together since the, you know, over that 10-year period. So I don't know, it's quite possible we might work together in some shape or form. You know, there are endless possibilities and ways that we could do that.
It's been an amazing adventure, and I suppose if you've got to go back a little bit to go forward, we couldn't have done it any better.
Jimmy Page and Robert Plant's amazing adventure was a renewal of their musical collaboration that started back in 1968 with the formation of the legendary supergroup Led Zeppelin, and has now come full circle with the release of Page and Plant's new album, No Quarter. This reunion comes after 14 years of successful solo efforts from both musicians, during which time people were constantly asking, will Page and Plant ever really work together again?
Personally speaking, I've been wanting to work with Robert for a long time, and in the past it had just been in dribs and drabs on certain record projects, playing on Robert's album and he sang on one of mine, and then the sort of Live Aid and this sort of thing.
You ask for medication? Who cares for medication? When you're thrown away to go,
The time was right, really, and we discussed a lot of areas of how we could get things together, and we both agreed on the fact that that we would have to do something that was within a new light. Maybe if we were to do the old numbers, then it would be like possibly set the same picture but within a different frame. You see.
And I think the thing is to make it as simple as you can, to reach a point where you know it's either happening or not. I think we just knew that we'd got nothing to lose and nothing to gain. I haven't got the time, and neither has Jimmy, to piddle about trying to do something that isn't convincing. You know, the conviction of the work in the past meant that for 14 years I didn't want to be part of some creaking old revival show. You know, so if we were going to do anything at all, it had to have conviction, and it had to really have a lot of new inspiration. So you could use old songs, but you had to reinvent them.
Hangman, hangman, oh did a little while.
It's not going anywhere new, but it's a great sort of marriage for the two of us to, you know, phrase against each other vocally and guitar-wise. It's something that is, if you like, it puts us back in one of the very familiar roles that we played. It's quite consoling, really, because I was quite worried about that being a cliche, but when you're doing it, it's great.
Well, we had obviously so many songs that we could work on, but we didn't really want to get into any of the sort of Black Dogs and all this sort of stuff.
Oh, so everybody else has done Black Dog since.
Hey, hey, mama said the way you move, gonna make you sweat, gonna make you breathe.
Lyrically, it was a guy at 23 singing quite lurid, sort of poor man's Robert Johnson type lyrics and stuff like that, which is great, but if you're going to do anything like that again, it's either got to be incredibly tongue-in-cheek or very, very subtle. And so there are certain songs that for me are not appropriate to sing anymore.
There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying the stairway to heaven. The shine burning red, dreams of you all through my head.
I think, you know, Black Dog and those sort of numbers that from way back in the past, as most of them are, didn't give us the immediate sort of stimulus to rework them, whereas things like Friends certainly did. We tried Bromwell Stomp, which in the past used to work really well with, you know, in the old days with Zeppelin, and you know that didn't quite make it at the time. But you know, then we moved on to something else and on to something else. But the main thing was that no matter what we did actually get our teeth into, we really, you know, thought about it, and I think that really tells.
Baby, since I've been loving you, yeah, I'm about to lose her.
I think it was one of our more successful songs that we ever pulled off, and it's a great feeling to try and get somewhere near it again, for the sake of it being Once Upon a Time magnificent. The most important thing was to take it steady and see if we could develop songs that were already really well known, just to enlarge on them and enhance them and make them really something special.
I mean, the whole thing of us getting back together again, I mean, that was always a little bit nervy right from day one when we actually got together to work with some tape loops. Which is a pretty radical way of starting things off.
We had to also have the enthusiasm and the ability to create new stuff. I was worried that we couldn't do that. Well, you know, I mean, it's the same. You walk in a room and pick up an instrument, doesn't mean to say you're going to write a song. There could be a lot of psychological shit to get rid of. And we burnt it all out in about 3 or 4 minutes, but the loops, these drum loops that we got from a producer in Paris, North African drum loop, made it so that we didn't have to rely on a bass player and a drummer. We just cranked these loops up so loud that you couldn't think. Two of the songs, Yalla and Wah Wah, were written on the first day that we decided to work together again, which is pretty neat, because if it hadn't have been that easy, it would have been laborious and we'd have gone away full of doubts again.
As I say, we know that we've, you know, achieved that, and yet there's so much more that we can do.
Talk of the song from times of lifting grace, sounds caress my ear. Close the door, put out the light. You know they won't be home tonight.
No stranger to the mystical and exotic flavors of world music, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant recorded parts of No Quarter in places as diverse as Marrakesh, Morocco, and Snowdonia, Wales, where they blended their sound with the spirituality and musical essence of the regions.
We could spend so much time in Wales. I mean, I go there. I live not far from the Welsh border, and it's certainly a little more evocative than Guildford. Just to be away in an area where you know there's been some activity that isn't easily explained nowadays. You know, tribal stuff, cultural stuff, the poetry of the Welsh triads, the whole Taliesin. The whole thing is, if you have the eye for it, it's still there.
Walking side by side with them. The devil walks their step. The snow dries down the foot that's strong. The winds of the blue and cold.
In America, you've got so many cultures, but each culture seems to be independent of the other to a degree in the mainstream pop. In England and in France and in the Mediterranean countries, there's a whole blending of different styles, which is quite natural.
I've always taken it on board from way back, you know, from being a teenager I was playing music like that at home. Along, obviously, with blues and rock, but I mean, it was all there. And has always been a part of me, and I know it has been with Robert as well.
The whole Moroccan, North African adventure, musically, has been a great sort of helter-skelter of hopeful opportunity and failure, because originally we wanted to work with a very famous orchestra out of Rabat and rework a couple of Zeppelin songs that way. Right. And that fell on its face, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know, Morocco is a land of a million sort of contradictions, and one of the contradictions that we came across was, yes, okay, that's fine, and then you get there and there's nobody there. Right. It's a great Moroccan joke. We've experienced it for the last 20 years. Oh yeah, everything you want. Then you get there and there's, not only is there nothing there, but there's nobody there. You make every single fact and every point of logical liaison and they don't work. So we went on a wing and a prayer and a phone call to meet the Ganawa.
The Ganawa are a tribe of people that originally were brought in as slaves into Morocco by the Arabs. They actually came from Sudan, I believe, that's correct.
And Mali.
And Mali too, yeah. And their music is very trance-like, and also they have the facility and the capability of healing within their music too. Right.
Oh, so give me peace of mind and lay me down. Bury all my pain and years beneath the sand. See the baby, see the baby, see the baby, look at ready.
It's about as far away from George Michael as you can get. You know, I mean, they play for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it's a therapy. You know, but they also make cassettes that you can buy for 15 dirham. The Ganawa are true black Africans, whereas the Moroccans are a mixture of Arab and Berber and a lot of the movements, civilization movements that went along North Africa and along the Mediterranean generally.
They were just so honest, and you know, the music was just, it's just a truth, and you couldn't help but be touched by that.
And in Marrakesh, when we were playing in the square, there was about 3,000 or 4,000 people there, just going crazy.
In the square, they were willing us on. They were really willing us on.
That's the difference between musical participation in Africa and places like that, and in America. it's great to work with musicians who are so proud of their roots, and they're normally not in a position to extend it into, you know, into this. And therefore their pride is such a, it's so much food for us. It's great. It's really, really positive.
Plant and Page took this positive experience one step further when they invited acclaimed musicians from the Middle East and the London Metropolitan Orchestra to join them for the recording of some new songs, as well as past classics.
I mean, the excitement of working with these kind of players, and I wouldn't call it privilege, but the exchange between them and us as musicians from totally different entities, diagonally opposed, bang, was so exciting, absolutely unbelievable. And that was something that I don't think we'd ever imagined. I mean, I thought about trying to do it, but I didn't know where to begin.
The queen of light took her bow, and then she turned to go. The prince of peace embraced the blue and walked the night long. The dark Lord rides in force tonight, and time will tell us all.
I've been making records for so many years, but I've never been in the middle of that. That was amazing. And the violin player, the Egyptian, I mean, how many people get a chance to stand next to somebody who does that?
You've got the Western Orchestra and Hassan Ramsey and his percussionists and the Egyptian Orchestra and everything. I mean, there was just such a vibe going on. You can see the reactions, and especially in so much as the Western orchestra goes, the string players. I mean, they're usually very, very reserved. You know, you can see them bopping around.
I mean, it's not sort of lean back rock, thank God. But whatever it is, it's so entertaining. You imagine hearing that in a hall in America, real, right in your face, that kind of rhythm and those songs.
It was a celebration, a joyous celebration, and everyone was involved that was playing. It was great to actually feel it, to be there on stage and feel it all enveloping it. Wonderful.
To introduce No Quarter, Robert Plant and Jimmy Page shot a concert film that captures what many are saying is a must-see experience. So, with the way people are talking about Page and Plant these days, you'd think it was 1975 again.
I thought the whole thing was like absolutely like mind-expanding. It was just absolutely.
I mean, it blew away anything I've ever heard from them, from anyone actually, as far as intensity goes. I was speechless the whole time.
We thought it was great. It was totally not what I expected at all.
Intense.
Well, I've seen them live, and it was as good as ever. Better.
I thought because they were older, they'd like, you know, their voices would be a little less, but they were great. They're just as good as ever. I loved them. I loved them.
was incredible. I mean, there's nothing like it. Just put it that way. There's not a sound like that out there. I was a little skeptical. You know, I'm thinking, I don't know. You know, they might be a little washed out. You know, but they surprised me, and I know they surprised everybody in there. We were all going crazy. Exactly.
They finally come back together, and it's something I've been waiting for years. I just got so much adrenaline pumping through me because I was just completely amazed. Since I've Been Loving You was incredible.
Four stars, the top. You know, Robert is in top singing voice. Jimmy is playing great. The African musicians, the Middle Eastern influences makes the old song sound new again, something fresh. I think it's fabulous.
I just hope they stay together. It's great work. It's great work.
What should they do? Tour. That's what they should do.
Walk